Alright out there in video land, let me know that you can hear this and that you can hear this. All good? All good, somebody said. Just going to spend a minute or two just having a quick fiddle, let people gather. I probably had more people watching for my test than I did half an hour ago. But never mind, don't dwell on these sorts of things. I'm just going to have a fiddle. Please make yourself comfortable, get yourself a drink, and we'll start talking. We'll start talking in a minute. I need to do something interesting to the Bassimilus. You know, I never did get the hang of that eventide delay. I still don't know what I'm doing with it. Well, there you go. Oh, anyway, before everyone wanders off, because I'm not doing anything or saying anything, I better say something. So, welcome. It's actually getting warm in here now. If you've been following my story up to now, you know that we had a bit of a heating crisis during the week. But I have my heater back, which is a fabulous thing, which means I can now do this in my pants without having to worry about it. No, I'm not really going to do that. But I can feel at least human again in my shed, rather than some kind of strange warped creature wrapped up in hats and scarves while trying to type. So let me introduce myself properly. This may be your first time here, in which case, welcome. You are so extraordinarily welcome here. This is Molten Music Technology. My name is Robin Vincent, and the idea of these live chats is to just sit here and babble about music technology, about synthesis, hardware, software, beer, modular, Microsoft Surface, other bits of synthesizer stuff. I don't know, whatever we really want to think about or talk about, we will do so here in a lively fashion. I am willing and able and delighted to answer questions and queries and to talk about various subjects and bits and pieces. Nothing is taboo here. And also, but you must realize that in this exchange you may not always get back what you think, because I can be quite sarcastic, I can be quite cutting and insulting in some of my responses, and I would just like to put out there that it's not because I don't love you, because I do very, very much. It's just that I find some things funny and then I take the piss out of it a little bit, but I mean it all in a nice, lovely way. So if I'm curt or I answer your question with a certain amount of disdain, it's nothing personal, I promise. It's just kind of how I am. So we have to take the rough with the smooth. You have to take the insults with the extraordinary, you know, downloading of amazing wisdom and information that I could potentially, at any moment, I could potentially say something awesome, and you will remember that you were there when that happened, just after I really insulted the question that you asked, if you see what I mean. So I'll endeavour try not to do that, but sometimes I just can't help myself, particularly when the beer starts kicking in and I start losing track of what's going on. So what do we have in store for today? Well, following on from October's Molten Music Monthly, what is there to talk about in that? I don't know, that'll come back to me, I'm sure, in a minute or two. There's some good stuff in there, undoubtedly. Go and watch the video after this. That'd be great, just to remind yourself of how awesome last month's Music Monthly was. And if I can think of anything to talk about from that, I will. Otherwise, I'll make a bit of music. Although I did want to sort of engage in a bit of conversation about how to use this a bit more live, which I'll talk about in a minute. I won't blow it all on that straight away. I will check out to see what you're talking about. If there's something in there that I can pull out to start talking about, just for our ease in. I mean, we're already 10 minutes in. Wow, does that time go quick, eh? And it'll be half an hour before we know it, and then it'll be midnight, and we'll still be chatting, which is great. I think that's lovely. I love it. It's exciting. It's exciting. I'm excited. Anyway, so this month's beer is another one from Lidl, from their Hatherwood craft beer range. It's called Shipwreck, which is perfect, I think, for me. So let me dive into the comments. Let me bring this a bit closer. In fact, it occurred to me the other day that it's possible that I could have a look at this, the comments I mean, on my phone. You know, is that possible? Would that save me a whole load of trouble? Why am I such dense at things sometimes? No, see that's my test. I can watch my own test video. Let's try that one, because that will save me having to scroll up and down on a screen over there. Yeah, okay, live chat. Look, there it is, and there's me. Excellent. Let's make sure that's down. Okay, let me see if I can go through this. Yeah, that will save me, because before I've been looking over here into my laptop, into my Surface, which is great, but it's a bit distracting. Whereas now, look, see, I can look at myself while I'm filming myself. I mean, it's the ultimate in vanity filmmaking, really, isn't it? So, good evening. Let me have a look through the comments here. Hearing that and hearing that, good. Everything being heard, that's good, because what I've decided to do this time is not sort of be clever in any way, because normally I'm trying to be clever, because I'm trying to put a noise gate on the microphone so that you're not getting a doubling back of hearing the modular through the system and then back out, so I can hear it through the system and through the microphone again. So I've always been trying to be clever with that, and it has tripped me up every single time. The audio is either choppy, or it's not quite right, or it's distorting. So hopefully, because I haven't fiddled with it at all, I've just left everything on, you should just be able to hear it. That's the plan. That's what I'm hoping for. Will I do a 20k subscriber special when you hit 20k? Yeah, why not? Let's do that. What could we do? Any suggestions? Any suggestions for something special that we can do for 20k? Because as of this weekend, we hit 19,000 subscribers, which is brilliant. Welcome, welcome. I mean, I imagine that that's been boosted a lot by the Surface videos I've been doing, which I know you Modular lot out there are going to be going, oh, Surface guys, and the Surface guys out there going, oh, Modular guys. But you know, hopefully we can have an appreciation of all of it, because the interest I get on the Surface side of things really helps everything else bubble along, you know. So I have much respect for everybody who likes everything, like Surface, like Modular, you know. Let's do the lot. So yeah, let's do something special. Likely to hit 20k at Christmas, I suppose, because it says things like you're getting 300 subscribers a month. So that currently it's up to about 400, 500, which is nice. Again, as you see, I've had a little bit of a boost. So in a couple of months we should be at 20 grand. That would be great. Let's have a party. So yeah, suggestions please, that would be great. Erica Synths drum sequencer spotted. No, my friend, no. You've spotted cells here. We'll look at that in a bit. I'll just go through some comments first and we'll come back to it. So remind me if I forget to show you what this is all about, because it's very, very cool, I think. Camera seems to be on autofocus. Yeah, it always is, because if I lean over here to turn off autofocus, I will be focused at this point, and then I'll lean back and I'll be out of focus, if you see what I mean. And then when I go over here, I will also be out of focus. Now I'm absolutely welcome. I'm happy to be schooled on this, because I'm just trying my best, because I'm only me and I'm just here, and so hopefully it's focusing more or less on my face. But if everyone believes it would be better if I just left the focus off, but as I say, I can't reach to turn the autofocus off and keep my head in the same space, if you see what I'm saying. Unless I'm just being an idiot. I don't think I am. Oh, anyway. So yes, autofocus is on, hopefully for a good reason. But by all means, tell me how to do it better. And if it's really, really annoying, I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what to do about that. What mic is it? It's AKG C3000. C3000, I think that's 189, please. I would say in turnkey back in the day. Yes, the 2HP pluck is indeed for voice polyphonic, so it rings out those sounds. It's really so that you can, you know, if you play it fast enough, it kind of generates a chord. But it's mostly so that sound can ring out as it triggers the next one. And then you only steal notes after 4 notes have played. It's a great little thing. It's one of my favourite modules. I don't quite understand the comment about the shed. It's just a workspace, man. We call it a shed. That's all it is. I'm not trying to make any big statement about a man in his shed where all his gear is. I don't really go for that. It's just a space in which I work. It could be a cellar, it could be an attic. It's just that we built a structure at the bottom of the garden, my wife and I seem to fill it up mostly. She likes other parts of it. I don't know. Anyway, not going to get sidetracked. Hello. Those M audio interfaces seemed okay. Yeah. The M-Track ones. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I didn't really mean to say anything bad about it necessarily. It's just, you know, I used M audio for decades and decades. Really good stuff. I had an Omni IO. In fact, I've still got it in a drawer down here somewhere because I don't really know what else to do with it. And that was just the most awesome interface for years. I had it running through a Delta 44. Fantastic. PCI card. Had it for years and years. Really very good. And I was quite pleased when they sort of reinvented themselves with these desktop style interfaces, because that's the sort of thing that I like. I think that's a wise idea. It's just, as I say, it's the Behringer question, because I don't, for some reason, I don't know whether it's purely psychological or what, I'm not able to treat Behringer the same as I do other people, other manufacturers. And that's not really right, is it? There's something, I've got some inbuilt prejudice, perhaps. You know, it doesn't have any logical reason behind it at all. It's just something which it floats around, and you know, and as a music technology journalist or commentator or whatever it is that I am, it would be wrong of me not to mention how I feel about those sorts of things. Now, all of these things should get borne out in their use. So if the product's good, the product's good. You know, I just share my thinking about it. That's all. And they just I don't know, look a bit chunky. Cider, yeah, good. I haven't drunk cider for a while. I have trouble with sugar, and cider tends to be too sweet for me. So for some reason, beer doesn't seem to be a problem. Thank God. So I'm still doing that. Hello, how are you doing? Where am I from? Where am I from? I'm from Norfolk. I live currently north of Norwich, which is in the county of Norfolk in England, in the UK. Something to do with Great Britain. Don't quite understand that. Never have, and still part of the European Union. Hooray! So that's nice. That's where I live, in the east of England. Da 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 da. Hello. Microsoft Surface to give away. Yeah, I did that, you know. I'm back when I was really popular with Microsoft, and they thought I was an awesome thing. I did a competition for a Surface Pro 3, and it was great. We gave away a Surface Pro 3, and we even did a Kickstarter to try to raise enough money for me to buy a Surface Pro 4, I think it was at the time, in order to continue the testing that I was doing. And that just, by the skin of its teeth, sort of worked out. But the thing with the competition, the thing with the giveaways, is that you get far more entries from bots and non-existent accounts than you do anything else. So the likelihood is that you're going to be giving it away to someone who doesn't exist. It's a really weird thing. As soon as you stick giveaway or hashtag giveaway in a thing, if you any kind of competition or prize draw, it just gets filled up with automated robots. It's really very, very strange. And I struggled. I mean, we had this huge competition. I got stuff in from Open Labs. I got some FL Studio stuff. I got a whole bundle of software and hardware that I could give away with this Surface Pro 3 at the top. And the Surface Pro 3 did eventually go to this Mac user in the States who probably uses it for watching movies or something. I don't know. But that's just how it turned out. But there were other prizes that I couldn't give away because I couldn't contact the person who'd won it because they didn't really exist. It was just ridiculous. So giving away stuff, I don't know. I mean, also the whole thing, give it away for likes, and then have you liked that and retweeted it? Does that mean you get 2 entries? And I don't know. I think Sound on Sound have got the better idea with that. They've stuck wholeheartedly to the idea that you have to cut out, you know, a square of their magazine and write the answer to a question and a slogan tagline thing, and then send that in, and then that gets judged. I think that's a far better thing than any kind of prize draw business, because it just gets to be nonsense, and people enter stuff who haven't got any interest in what you're doing at all. So yeah, but you know, unfortunately Microsoft don't really talk to me anymore, which is a shame. I mean, I had a chat with a guy I used to know at Microsoft recently, because I got in touch with everyone because I was doing the new Surface videos, and he said, I'm not naming any names or anything, that really Microsoft have dropped any interest in the music making side of it, because they were developing an app. They were making Groove Music Maker and things like that, and have dabbled with it. And a couple of generations of Surface ago, that was something that was very big, and that's why I got invited along to parties, and they had a lot of interest in what I was doing, because I was sort of I don't know, proving in the real world what they were doing was a good thing. Yeah, and that seemed to work. That seemed to resonate. But then we hit problems with the Surface Pro 4, and it perhaps wasn't working as well as it should. Maybe I was too critical of things not really coming together. I don't know. I mean, they had the whole thing with Staff Pad and all that. They'd had concerts and things going on. It was great, but no, they seem to have dropped it. And there was a team of people who were working on the audio side of the Surface, and they've now been thrown off to go and do some other things. So I don't think Microsoft has any immediate interest in audio production, music production on the Surface, which is a shame. It is a shame, because I maintain, and have maintained since the Surface Pro 3, that it's an awesomely potential. I don't think that's really a way you put words together. It has an awful lot of potential, the Surface platform, for music making, in terms of it's got decent power. You know, decent power, laptop power. It's not going to be spectacular, not gazillions of plugins, but it does well enough, and has done well enough for a few generations now. So, you know, decent power, a lovely form factor, and the touchscreen potential is awesome. I mean, I use a Surface Live often when I perform live or do events and bits and pieces, and to be able to tap the screen to trigger loops, to trigger scenes, to trigger video, all of that just works brilliantly. You know, it's like people use an iPad for that kind of thing, but I use a Surface because I can then run desktop software. I'm not having to fanny around in crappy little music apps. I can do it in Ableton Live or Bitwig or Archaos, which is what I use for video. You know, proper stuff, man. And that's great, and it always has that potential, and that's why I pursue this thing, because I think it's interesting. I think the pen can be very creative, fingers can be very creative, because it gives you a different approach to your computer. I can't, you know, we're all stuck through this bleeding mouse, this single point on a mouse that we can do so much with, but yeah, we need to wake up to the fact that that can be so restrictive, and to, you know, to sit back and to open up your fingers and to just approach your music making in a different way can be so releasing. That's, you know, the whole reason why I've got into this, because it's opened up my way of making music. It's no longer mouse driven, and something like the Surface can really do that in a computer context. So yeah, where did that come from? What was I talking about? Somebody asked me a question. Let's see what else we've got. Have I ever watched Stranger Things? Yeah, I've watched the first episode. Haven't got any further. I mean to at some point. There we go. Yeah, I do have more DIY coming along. I built the VCO here. The Bafaco VCO is just about on the camera. Here recently, this month, November, I will be building at the very least the low pass gate. Hopefully I also want to build the low pass gate and the sample slicer. They're the two I'd like to do. This next week is crazy busy. I'm crazy busy at the moment. I'm writing a review of Stage Light 4 for Sound on Sound magazine, which is nice. It's always nice to do something which actually gets into a real magazine in print. And I also need to review the Jus MIDI controller, which is over there. And I might get that up later and we'll have a look at it. Maybe, I don't know yet. I don't know, it depends if you ask nicely, I guess. So, but then after that week, I would really like to spend some time finishing off some bits of music that I want to finish off and get up and out there, so I can sort of clear my backlog, as it were. And then I'll do the DIY. That's next on my list. Oh, and amongst that, a whole bunch of Surface videos. There's no end to it. There's no end to it. Do I plan on getting the cat module? No. Nah. It's alright, I can sense the amusement with it and how that is funny. But it's £100, which I wouldn't see again. So, no. Thank you. You think I should move the microphone out of the screen for the autofocus? Possibly, but I want to, I'm speaking that way and I need the microphone to be in that position. I can't actually lower it any further, clunk clunk, than that. That's how tall my microphone stand is, unless I do weird things. If I put it to the side, I'm then going to have to sort of speak to the side. Do you see what I'm saying? I'll put it to the side a little bit more. Is that going to help? Keep that pointing at me. I don't know. Let me know if that helps. Do you foresee yourself expanding a little beyond the Surface devices to the Yoga, Lenovo or something similar to that? No, absolutely not. No, I can't be asked with it. I get asked a lot about other laptops, other platforms. Hey, why don't you use this amazing ThinkPad thing? Why don't you use this Yoga thing? Use the Asus thing. It's like, do you have any idea how long it takes to test a computer properly for audio production? It's, to put out a video to the level of quality that the level of quality of the content, and not necessarily my video skills are particularly awesome, but if you want to put out something that actually means something, which is what I believe my videos do when I do this stuff, that have decent information on them, it takes days of preparation and testing and looking and coming back and retesting and checking and all that sort of thing. And I have enough to do with a Surface. I can see why other people want other stuff tested, because you're too chicken to do it yourself. You don't want to jump in there and have it a go. You want someone to tell them that it's going to work before you do, and you just think that that's going to be better than the Surface, or it's slightly cheaper than the Surface, or it does something different. And it might well do. But I can only do what I do. I mean, if somebody was to send me one, because I don't get this stuff, the Surfaces. I've got one here. Can you see that on screen just about? I'm looking at. Microsoft don't buy them for me. I got the Surface. The only thing I ever got free from Microsoft was the Surface, the original Surface 3, which was great. That was nice. I got a numbered, one of 250 or one of 50, I think it was. They were at this party in New York. Fantastic. Those are the days. But that's the only thing I ever got free. That was back in 2015. Since then, I've had to purchase every single Surface along the way. So no one has given me free stuff. And have you ever tried to approach Lenovo, for instance, or Asus, and say, can I have a free laptop? No, it doesn't happen. They don't care. They don't in the least bit interested. But if somebody wanted to do that, if somebody wanted to buy a range of different laptops and tablet type things and wanted them tested for music, then do that and send them to me, and I'd happily do that. I'd happily put the time in if you wanted to send those to me for free. But otherwise, I don't have the cash, mate. I don't have it. Cash and time do not have for that. So if you're looking to get some other laptop, some other platform to run stuff on, then you're kind of on your own, I'm afraid. All right. But let me know how you go. Sheds, yeah, I think they're gender non-specific. Generally speaking, I'm saying. So now, looking through the comments, I might need to skip ahead a little bit because I'm about 15 minutes behind. So let me just go through some very quickly. Is In Music the own M Audio, not Behringer? Isn't In Music Behringer? Oh, am I got? Oh, how have I got that wrong? Oh, now I'm gonna have to look that up now. Oh, that's got me. Oh no, you're right. Oh my goodness. Oh, is it? Oh, truth. See, I've gone red now in the realization that I might have got something wrong. I hate getting stuff wrong. Oh God, hang on. Right. Why did I get that? In Music. Oh my word. Inner Peace Through Music and Sound is the In Music website. I don't think that's the right one. In Music Brands, there we go. Yeah, you're right. Look at that. Oh my goodness me. Oh, how has nobody picked me up on that, eh? See, that's nuts. Who was that? What smart ass is pointing that out? That was Local Technique. Yeah, no, you're very clever for pointing that out. Thank you. Why didn't somebody point that out before? Yeah, no, you're right. M Audio aren't owned by Behringer at all. God, I got that completely wrong. See? It's possible. Yeah, okay, so rewind then. Take that all back. I really used to like M Audio, but then they got bought out by that crap company In Music. No, that's right, of course, because of the Akai connection and the fact they all do the same controller keyboards now, just with different badges on, things like that. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So I'm going to have to put a note somewhere on my Molten what's it video. Yeah, Alesis, Akai, Air, they're all owned by that. So yeah, M Audio was owned by Avid, as somebody has mentioned down here, but they did bugger all with it. Avid just bought up a load of stuff for no reason a few years ago. It didn't make any sense. So In Music now owns M Audio. Does that change how I feel about them at all? I don't know. I'm going to have to think on that. I'm going to have to think on that. I mean, simply because I don't have any experience of M Audio gear now, and it has changed, and it seems a bit clunky. It seems a bit generic, particularly the MIDI controller keyboards, because they are the same as the Alesis ones and the Akai ones. But Akai are still capable of producing something interesting. So have Alesis, kinda. So, I mean, I don't know. If you're out there In Music, I deeply apologise for suggesting that M Audio was owned by Behringer. Yeah, that's my bad. I will have to try to update everybody and sort that out in my head, because that would be better, I think. Oh, God, that hurts. That hurts. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm going to not sleep tonight because I'm worrying about that. So great, thanks. Awesome. Dear, moving on. Okay, someone has a Mother 32 and a DFAM looking to expand with Modular. What might be a good route to go? A good route to go. So you've got drums and you've got a bass line. And you've got the worst sequencer in the world. I mean, I would say you start simple, something with like a delay to start with, and then you need to start getting into more modulation, because there is, you've got an LFO, bits like that, but you need other stuff. You need random sources going in there. You need sample and hold. You need you know, weird bits and pieces. So I would put them together with something like a maths and some kind of effects unit to get some delay going in there. They would be the first things I would think of, and a reverb. Yeah, and then something to mess with the drums like the Bassimilus. You know, and then you're going to need another sound source. So a nice oscillator. If you've got an oscillator, you want a filter, unless you're going to mix it through the Mother 32. Yeah, then a filter, you probably want a clock splitter so you can then split the LFOs up. Then, then more modulation. God, I still can't stop thinking about that M-Audio thing. Let it go. Let it go. So yeah, lots of ways to go with that, I would say. It's a good starting point. But also in some ways with the Mother 32 and the DFAM, you've got quite a self-contained unit. And so it doesn't naturally force you into anything, which doesn't help you make your next purchase, if you see what I mean. So you're probably going to find yourself, you want to buy 3 modules, I think. I think you need a modulator, you need effects, and you probably need another sound source. Go that route, and then things will start to open up. That's what I think. Do I have the patch and tweak book? I do not. I'm very aware of it, rather. I do not have it as a book. No, I don't. I do have a lovely picture from Synthfest. I don't know why I said that. You own a basic fast track. Oh, it happened a while ago. I've got a fast track too. Fast Track Duo, which I use or used to use quite a lot until it failed on my new Surface Pro 6, so I've thrown it to the side for the moment. But yeah, no, I think that's, I mean, if it's an Avid Fast Track, then that's still owned by Avid essentially, even though M-Audio made it. Have I heard 8D music? No, I haven't. So where am I now? Still 15 minutes behind. Okay. I don't think any of the companies are who they were. I think whenever you get bought out, I mean, for instance, sorry, I'm just responding to Inky at Damn Cat Studios' comment about In Music and people like Akai and Rain, how those are not the companies that they were, but Behringer kept companies intact. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. I mean, I know quite a lot of people at TC Electronics, or used to, back in the day. In fact, I ran into a couple at Synthfest, which was really nice. And we're going to do something, because they're now, a bunch of people from TC Electronic in the UK have formed their own company and are now distributing some very interesting sort of boutique effects pedals. And I'm going to use some of their pedals with my Strymon AA1 over here and do a video on that very, very soon. And if you're out there, I mean to get in touch with you and sort that out. I just haven't had the time yet. Anyway, so yeah, no, Behringer take these companies and completely takes it apart, with some exceptions. Some exceptions like Midas, where they've taken on the whole Manchester crew, I think it is, from the Midas team, and have used them to great effect to produce all their synthesizers. Awesome. But that's not always the case. They often take over something, take some of the technology and the brand, lose all of the staff, lose all the people, and do their own thing. So I've got, I currently have some TC Electronic guitar pedals because they were like 50 quid and looked really good. And they are really good, but they're Behringer and they're a bit sort of crappy, but also good. I mean, good enough, decent enough. But they're not TC Electronic. You know, it has a TC Electronic badge on it, but it's not what we know as TC Electronic. It's Behringer, but it looks nice. So yeah, it's difficult, but it is politics, it is business, man. What goes on with all of that, and it's not always a good thing for these little companies to get bought out. Sometimes it can be, but generally speaking, doesn't seem to always be a positive thing. But then, as I say, Akai keep releasing interesting stuff. Headrush, another In Music company, keep on releasing interesting stuff. So, you know, I don't know. Pros and cons, swings and roundabouts, blah blah blah. Oh no, that didn't work. Hang on. Let's keep this going. Keep this going. It's all relative. Yeah, of course it is. When can you hear my music? Okay, let's talk about that then. How are we doing? 45 minutes in. Cool, blimey. So let's talk about my music. My music. The state of play with my music for people who are interested. Is that I've been really enjoying releasing little noodles and patches that I do on the Modular just in the YouTube channel, just putting them out there as and when I do them. When I'm focused on something, I like to produce something on it, and if it sounds half interesting, it goes out there. Earlier in the year I did a track for the crikey, what's it called? For the Modularism 2 CD, and that should be out in December, so that's only a little way away now. I did a track for them, which I did way back in April, something like that. But my own personal musical journey at the moment is that I've recently, a little while ago, set up a Bandcamp? Yeah, a Bandcamp page, is that right? I think so. Because I have like 4 albums out there of music, of spiritual meditation music, religious music, that kind of thing. That's all out there on iTunes. You can find it if you search for Molten Meditation. See, that's where the whole Molten thing came from, was from that. You can find that out there already. Now, obviously, it's not for everybody because it has spoken word in it. It has scripture and bits and pieces. Because that was a thing that I was heavily into at one point, and I think that those are awesome. They were just amazing. I think soundscapes of music with meditative verses going through them. Extraordinary. And it was the best that I could produce in the box, completely within a computer, using software synthesizers and bits and pieces. Brilliant. And these pieces were 12 to 15 minutes long, with me talking through them. It's supposed to be meditative. Don't listen to it in the car because you'll fall asleep. So I did all of that. Fantastic. Loved it, and I've used it live, I've used it in events and things like that. That's the kind of thing that I have been doing. Now, all of that is on iTunes and Spotify and all those usual places, and I pay a fortune to TuneCore for that to happen. I want to do it differently. I want to do it through Bandcamp. For some reason that doesn't, I don't know. Or some other form of online streaming where it can be a little bit more direct. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that up with the last album I did, which was I sort of took the best tracks from my first 3 albums and put them together in a shortened form, so more like 5-6 minutes, and without any words in. So there's no speaking, so it doesn't have to be a religious experience. It can just be good for music itself. And that was called Without Words, and that's also available on iTunes, Spotify, that kind of thing. And I'm going to stick that onto Bandcamp, or whatever it is, as a starting point. And that's kind of like the best in the box music that I did. I then also want to release another album which I'm right on the edge of just finishing off and mastering, which is all of the music I've done in about the last 5 years that I've done for live performance, live services that I've done at the Norwich Cathedral and other bits and pieces. And I've written all this music for these event services that we put on. And I'd really like to put that out there in order to sort of put a line under that sort of stuff, because that was, again, was all in the box mostly. And it's interesting. It's a different selection of stuff, but there's some songs in there as well that I've written that actually sound pretty good. So I'd like to get all that out there too. And then I feel I can start perhaps putting together an album of more modular based music. I feel like I need to finish these other things in order to move beyond it. Does that make sense? I also spoke about in the Molten Monthly that I'm going to be doing a live performance in a couple of weeks. I think it's like a week on Thursday. I don't know. I think the chances of me actually putting it together to do anything are at the moment 50-50. It seems increasingly unlikely, but I might just pull it off. And we might talk about that in a minute. I just want to scan through more comments because you're very lively tonight. Very lively. I can't see what's going on. 80 people. Hello. Right. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And I'm very, very sorry if I miss your comment completely or ignore you. I don't mean to. I'm just scanning through a little bit, okay? Because there's just not enough time, I don't think, at the moment. I mean, I'm about half an hour in on the comments, so now I'm going 20 minutes behind again. Okay, so I'm just going to skip a little bit. No new modules to my rack. However, I have just bought a new module. I was promising I wasn't going to buy anything else, but this one particular module came out. I mean, it's really boring. It's called the Molten. It's an 8-channel VCA with soft mutes from SFS, Steady State Fate. Steady State Fate. Is that what they're called? I don't know. Which is really, I believe, really going to sort out my struggle with the routing and how we get to hear things and turn things on and off, because it means that I could route all of my sound sources through this thing and I could drop them in and out. So when in a live performance situation, I can have one thing running, everything else muted, and then boom, bring things in, take things out, bring things in. So at the moment to do that, I'm having to pull out cables, which doesn't work very well. Or I'm fading out a little bit on my Veils VCA over here, but that's only 4 channels, and so I've got other mixers around, and it gets complex. To be able to drop stuff in and out, I think fantastic. I need to do that. So I've jumped on that one and pre-ordered it. Should be here in about a week, and I'll talk about it more maybe on the next one. We'll see. But otherwise, no, I don't have any other new modules. Oh, other than the Tanglefoot lattice and cells, which nice man from Tenderfoot sent me, which I'll talk about in a minute. I just want to get through. Oh, somebody's shouting at me. Thank you. That's Inky again. See, I'm 20 minutes behind. It's no good shouting at me now. And yeah, I hope you realise how much I've now bled about the whole M Audio thing. Okay, yeah, good, great. See, I'm infallible. How about that? Who would have thought it? yeah. Journalistic infallibility, eh? I mean, it must be horrible for you out there, because this hero of yours, you've suddenly seen that the imperfections. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, sleepless nights. Yeah, no, you're right. You can't keep up with who owns what these days. Although it's all owned by Palmolive, isn't it? Or what are they called? All owned by Coca-Cola, ultimately. What would you recommend for an ADAT interface expansion for the Arturia Autoviews? I can tell you exactly what I'd recommend. I'd recommend a Behringer product. See? There you go. It's good and bad. I've got one down here. It's called the Ultra Gain Digital, the AD8200. AD, was it written? It's not written on the front. I can't see what it is. Yeah, Behringer do an 8-channel mic preamp to ADAT converter. It works. It's great. It's fantastic. Use that. It's not pricey. It's a bit deep as far as 19-inch rack units go, but yeah, that works. I'd recommend that. They cut corners? Maybe, I don't know, but it sounds alright to me. DistroKid. Cheaper than CD Baby or TuneCore. Yeah, the TuneCore thing. It just seems like such a headache to pull off that and go and do something else. You know, all sorts of warning things come up saying, well, if you don't renew your subscription, then this will never happen, or this will that, or this will that and the other. So I have looked at it a couple of times to stop the TuneCore thing, and then I think, oh, I can't get into it right now. I don't have the headspace to think about it and work all that out without it assuming I'm going to damage things. I mean, it doesn't make any money. It sometimes breaks even, which is nice. So because it costs like $50 a year to renew it, so each of my albums makes almost $50 a year in streams, which is probably all right. And it's not mostly streams; it's mostly iTunes buying as a CD, buying the entire thing, because I get like a $5 a go on those. So I only need to sell 10 a year, and it covers itself. And that seems to be more or less happening, I think. Again, I need to check. Da, 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 da. Shipwreck beer. Have I caught up? That can't be right, can it? People must have stopped talking to me. Okay. Yeah, don't ever meet your heroes. Although it was nice. I mean, Synthfest. It was nice when people said hello. It's nice. It's just nice. That's all I can say about it, really. Is it awkward? Probably. Am I embarrassed? Yes, definitely. But it's still nice. It's really nice. Yeah. Because, we all, I mean, artists like myself, creatives, we all deal with self-doubt and, egos and things like that. And it's nice to be reminded every now and again that people appreciate what you do. It's the simple things like that. Yeah, because it can be a struggle sometimes, and that was really, that's really nice. Really life affirming for me. Oh goodness. Am I sharing too much? I love you, right? Okay. What do I think of the A series Native Instruments keyboards? They're a bit dull, really, aren't they? They're all right. Are they good, well priced? What? Oh, Siri is. What? I don't know if anybody else got that, but Siri has just said to me, it's trying to search for really horny. What? Okay, mind blown. Anyway, A series Native Instruments thing. Yes. No, yeah, fine. They're all right. Blank keyboards, but they don't have the screens. Is that important? Probably not. I found them quite useful, although underutilized, perhaps in the entire instrument. I've done a massive review on the one. I've got one under here, under there, the S series. And it's good. So the A series is going to be similar, just without the screen. So you're going to have a laptop to hand, make sure that you can see what's going on. But yeah, all right. They're probably good, I imagine. Nothing against it. Right, okay, I think I'm up to date. So what shall I talk about now? Shall I talk about... I know, I'll talk about the tenderfoot lattice and cells just for a moment. Put this out of the way. Oh, bring this in without actually electrifying myself. So this is my do-it-yourself rig, because although these are not DIY modules of any kind, but it's just the only space I have at the moment. This is all stuff that I've built other than the O-tool, which is a piece of test equipment. So what do we have here? We have here, can you see that? This is the lattice. I love this thing. I love this thing because it's simple. I know that people don't always want to hear that. They want good, complex modules. This is a simple module. It has the ability to be complex, certainly, but as it is, it's just brilliantly simple. So let me demonstrate that. Let me find out where the heck it's going. It's going over there, it's over there. So I want to turn down. That's going to that. That's going to go to that. Whoa, that's going to that, and then that's going to that. So that one I want to leave up. The other ones I want to turn down. That's really nice. How did I make that happen? Alright. So it's a sequencer, right? It's a sequencer, 12 steps, 3, 3, 3 and 3, or 4, 4 and 4, whichever you like, or it just goes along in a snake. It's great. It's a knob, right? And you turn the knob and it selects a note. That's it. Could you ever believe the sequencer could be so simple? So what I can do, I'll turn all these up to another note. Now I have, of course, got this going through a quantizer, because otherwise it's just voltage coming out. If I take that out of the quantizer, plug it straight in to the oscillator, then it's just voltage. It's no reference to any kind of scale at all. It's just whatever note, whatever voltage comes out. So I use it immediately with a quantizer in order to create some kind of tune. Does that make sense? So that's quite interesting. See, there's always something else to explore. So I've got a clock going in. The clock's coming from my Varigate 4 Plus. That's going to clock to a Molt over here. Clock going different places. The clock's coming to here. You have other things though. You've got ways of stepping stuff about. So it doesn't have to go in a line. It can just repeat one thing or step down to another line or something. So if I take the clock out of there, I can put it into this one, and it's just going to go down those 4. If I put the clock into this one, it then goes along that 3. If I put the clock into there, I can't remember what it does. I'll have to think about that. I can't remember what that one does. But obviously the great thing is that I can be going down, and then I can take... what's that going? That's going there. I don't want that going there. I'm going to put that into a clock divider. So this is again exciting now. So I've taken the clock and I'm going to divide the clock. So I've got a slower clock going into the one that takes it across. So now I get 2 runs of each column. Now if I put this back to my quantizer, can you hear that? So I'm now getting essentially 3 different tunes playing, and I'm now stepping between them. So you could see potentially how you've got different things, different structures. So I could have a 4-note sequence that I could play over and over again, and then just tap something in order to move along to the next one in a verse chorus kind of way. Do you see? So this has now actually gone from being a 12-step sequencer into a 8 plus 8, 16, 24-step sequencer. And of course I can have that the other way round. It's now playing a 3, and then it steps to the next 3 for a couple of turns, then the next 3 for a couple of turns. It's beautifully simple, and I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, obviously I put a few more notes in. So for instance, I could put one of them to be quite high, the next one to be quite low, something about in the middle. It's nice, yeah? It's nice. I like it. I really like it. For its simplicity. I can use it, I can get behind it. I'm not having to menu dive, not having to worry about different things. I know that I can set some notes on it, and that's gonna work. And I can expand it into lots of different, more steps than I thought. Does that make sense? I can move it about. Now, cells next to it, this can do a number of things. First of all, it can play a single step. So you've got your 12 buttons. So you can play the different steps like a keyboard and then let it go, let it run. Now these inputs at the top here, I can't exactly remember what they do now, thinking about it. I'd need to have to look that up. Now I think one of them, if I just put this back to being clock there, so it's just running along and it's 12, if I then put this other clock into here, I'm pretty sure that selects a random starting point. So if I take that out. Yeah. So this one, if I speed that up a little bit, that's now enabling this to select a random pitch. A random knob, which is great. The other one is a forward reverse, that's right. So if we put the clock back in, it's going forward, then it's going backwards. Excellent. This one I think is reset. That one I can't remember. I've also got a manual trigger on the forward reverse thing. So there you go. I just thought I'd introduce that to you. I'm going to do a proper video on it sometime soon because it's great. And I now have two because he sent me these two together because there's a certain firmware that needed to be in there and some other changes in order to get the two to work together. He's also releasing just the top four, these additional ports here, as a separate unit by itself, which I think is a great idea. Because although this is interesting, I'm not sure if it's that interesting. Whereas randomization, forward, reverse, that kind of thing is a really interesting thing to add to the module. But now I have two of these, I could potentially use them in a live rig, side by side, to run two different things, so I get two different tunes going on, a melody line and a bass line, that kind of thing. I think that could be really interesting. So that might be my plan for my live performance in a week and a half. I don't know, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Let's have a look, see if anybody thinks of that. Clicky keys, yes they are. They are indeed. What? Beware of Apple for some reason. I'm not too sure. Okay, I'm just checking if there wasn't anything really important that I should have looked at down. Apple's new OS will put musicians like myself in a dilemma as I cannot afford to upgrade at the moment. What will I be missing? Anything special about Mojave musically? I don't have any idea what any of that means. I own an iMac, an original Sharktooth, not even that. I don't know, a cool blue iMac from 1990 something. I think it runs OS Classic. No, I can't remember. I don't know anything about Apple Mac. I really don't. So by all means ask questions, but I don't have an answer for it. Yes, I've used Mac OS. Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely. Like Windows. Oh, it's lovely. Linux. Oh, it's lovely. I don't really care what the OS is. I like using software. I don't really sit around trying to figure out the OS. because I want to run software and maybe transfer files. That's about it. So I'm using Word on a Mac, using Word on my PC. I don't care. And I'm just more familiar with the Microsoft ecosystem. You know, I think I like things like OneNote, but I use that on my phone as well as on a Surface. And I have an iPhone. Oh, I have an iPhone. See, I'm an Apple man too. But Apple Macs, no, they don't really interest me. I've built my own computers all my life. So Apple as a computer firm are the opposite of what I like to do. So why would I do that? I know. So I don't know anything about their crazy OSs, which is a funny thing because, you know, when I was working at Turnkey, I was building Carillon audio systems. We worked in the room next door to the people doing the Apple Mac stuff. They had just as much tech support as we did. In fact, they had two guys doing tech support, and they would sell like 2 computers a month. We had 1 guy doing tech support. We were selling 5 a day. We were building 5 a day, and we had 1 guy. So I've never understood this fascination with Apple being, oh, Apple, it all just works. No, the heck it does. It all just works if you're browsing the internet. Well, then so does any computer. PCs tend to screw up when browsing the internet because you download a load of crap onto them because we're all a bunch of idiots. And that's why PCs have such a bad reputation, because you have a slightly crappy, cheap, nasty PC and an idiot using it, downloading lots of crap. Whereas you have less crap to download on an Apple because less stuff runs with it. That's always been the case. That's always been the major reason why Apple has been more reliable, because they're harder to mess up. But if you're using them professionally, they mess up just as much as any other computer. And as soon as a new OS version comes along from Apple, it messes everything up again. Nothing works. So, you know, this whole Apple thing, it doesn't make any sense to me. But people like it, people do it, people go on about it. That's fine. It's just not my bag, man. And, you know, it's not a conversation that I'm desperate to have with anybody, you know. So, blah-de-blah. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I've got a basic iPad. I have the 3rd generation iPad, which can't run iOS 10, is it, or 11? I don't know. So increasingly, apps are falling by the wayside. Not that we use it for anything other than watching telly. We watch telly on it. No, that's about it. For which it's perfect. It's a perfect platform for that. It's really, really great. Da, da. Right, so anyway, where were we? Will I be recording my live performance? Seems unlikely. That seems like a whole nother level of things I'll have to worry about. I will already, 1, be scared out of my wits. 2, I'll be in some dodgy pub in Norwich not knowing where the exits are, or whether I should really be bringing £1,000 worth of equipment in there. More than £1,000 worth of equipment. So trying to record it live is not going to be heavily on my mind. And it's, you know, it's one of those things that's, I've always thought odd, because we get into such a fuss trying to record something live when it should be easy. There should be a device that you can just, that has inputs and outputs, just stereo in, stereo out, that you can sit, you can break a connection between, you know, the stereo output of something. You just want to record something, you just want to have a little device that's got stereo in, stereo out, that you plug whatever it is that's going to your speakers, you know, you take those out of the speakers, plug them into this, and then that into your speakers, and hit record. That would be such an easy device. Why do things like that not exist? Or maybe they do. But they tend to, you've got these big field recorders, or you've got handheld things that have mini jack crappiness going on. You would have thought it'd be easy. Or something like a module, like the output module, like the Rosie I've got over here, Make Noise Rosie, which is a great little output module. It should have the ability just to record. Now, I think there are things like that coming along, or I've seen, is it the Disting which has that ability now? Maybe. Oh, anyway, by the by. Yeah, no, I'd love to go to Montreal. Yeah, invite me over. And by invitation, I mean send me a plane ticket. And book me a hotel. You know, all expenses paid. I'll go anywhere. Yeah, no, I am. I'd very much like to do the gig. I mean, it's only an open mic, by which, as far as I understand it, we have to. Anyone who wants to play can turn up with any old bit of electronics, you know. You can turn up at 7:30 and say, "I'd like to play, please," and then they book you in during that evening. So it may be that 100 people turn up trying to play, and we're never going to get any chance to do it. So that's why I'm kind of nervous about it, because I don't want to take my gear in without knowing what time we're going to be on. I want to leave it in the car where it's secure, and then turn up and say, "Oh yeah, I'll have a go," and then run off and get it and bring it back out again. I don't know. It seems like a big hassle for 5-10 minutes. But you've got to start somewhere. You've got to, as you say, grab the opportunity and do something. Not that I haven't performed in other places, but I've always performed at events where I'm doing something more than just playing music. You know, unless it's a covers gig. Then that's a whole different thing. Build a Hackintosh. No, thank you. No, thank you. Do I have any ideas for cool modules? I'd like to think that I do. Yeah, it's the sort of thing that, yeah, I'd like to, because I'd love to start a company called Molten Modular. Molten Modules. But I don't. I have some cool ideas for Voltage Modular. Voltage Modular, the software Eurorack system that works on your computer. I have some ideas for them because they're not doing everything right. They've got their approach is not quite right. They produce single modules for everything. So if you want to, for instance, modulate things, you've got to put in an LFO and then an LFO and then another LFO. Or if you want to put something through a VCA, you have to add a VCA. Am I not making any sense? They just need to double some stuff up. So I'd like to produce a little range. I need to look into this again at some point. Of, you know, the Molten Quad. So you've got a quad VCA. So rather than having to have 4 modules filling up my screen, I've got one module with 4 VCAs on it, like the Veils, and then a quad LFO like the Batumi. You know, that kind of thing. They haven't quite got to that yet. They've got one module per thing. And I think that that's the wrong approach, because you just end up with this hugely unnecessarily complex system. You need to double up, triple up, quadruple up on stuff. So I would recommend that. The same as like the Muton with its 8 VCAs. Awesome. In a smallish space. That's what you need, because you need to nail down these things in a small space. But do I have an idea for modules? No. I've got an idea for audio interfaces, those sorts of things. Yes. Because those are, as an area in my experiences, is very lacking at the moment. Whereas modules, lots of cleverer people than me have great ideas for modules, most of which I don't yet understand. So no, not yet. Yeah, I found that everything I plug into my PC works as well. It doesn't mean anything. Because the weird thing is that when you buy something for your computer, it's designed to run with it. I mean, crazy, isn't it? What a nuts idea that there would actually be drivers for it, that it would work, and has been tested. I mean, absolutely, it is easier to test a device on an Apple because they're all the same, more or less, until they change the OS. And PCs, there's a whole raft of them. There's a gazillion different types. So yeah, no, I get that totally. And the whole reason that I do the Surface thing is to demonstrate how things work or don't work. You know. So yeah, fair enough. But I have an endless supply of people going, can you do the same thing on an Apple? Can you show us how to make that work? Because people can't make that work either. Some people can. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Ooh. I'll never forget watching a gig where all the samplers packed up. Hardware, man, it sucks. Okay. Yeah, it is a balance. As oh, yeah, spilling beer on things. Yes, getting somebody drunk coming over going, "Oh, I love your modular, mate," at the pub gig, and they. I mean, this is a Mexican restaurant. This gig is at. I mean, now it sounds really weird, but there we go. So yeah, no, I don't want someone coming over with guacamole and dropping his refried beans all over me modular, man. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I put the whole thing inside a plastic case and do it in a bubble. Small system with a few modules. Well, my plan is, all right, well, let's step into that a little bit. My plan for the live performance is to take 2 rows. I can't take the whole thing. I've decided against taking the whole thing because it's too big to break. I can break it down into boxes, but then there's 3 boxes to carry, which is just too many. I reckon I could take 2 rows because I know taking 1 row is not quite enough. Because I take 1 row to the synth meets we do in Norwich, and that's great. And I can join in and I can make some noises, but I don't think it's enough quite to hold its own. I mean, maybe if I was clever enough. I mean, people do, obviously. People take small rigs along, and I've got 104 HP, so I probably could do it in a single one. But I think 2 would give me a lot more versatility. So my plan at the moment is to have a lattice in each, so 2 lattices, and then have an oscillator. Obviously, I've got 1 VCA, filters, the quantizing and gate making rhythm department. And all of that, but then I need everything. Oh god, I need everything. No, I don't need everything. Do I? And I would probably use the STO as a sound source. I'd use the pluck as a sound source because you can run that kind of together with other things and it makes different sorts of noises, so it runs really well using the same sequence as something else. And also my U-scale quantizer has 2 outputs, so that works really well. I then use the other lattice running through the quantizer on the disting, I think, running probably the black VCO without the expander. Don't need the expander, just the VCO. I think that would be the plan. Then running through the Polyvox filter. So I'll give you a couple of filters to play with. Yeah, that could work. Then I've got a couple of sequences going on, just fading stuff in and out. Trigger the drums with something else that's going on, either from an envelope or something to use to trigger those. Yeah, I think that could work. I think I could fill 5 to 10 minutes of that kind of messing about. I think I could. That's the plan in my head. I mean, I did think about this evening taking the whole thing apart and then having a discussion, putting it together, but I don't think we've got time for that really. And also the time delay between me talking about it and you listening to it and commenting just makes that hard work. If you know what I mean. But that sounds like a good idea to me. That sounds quite sane. Don't know. Well, you know, what do you think? Prototype in voltage modular. Yeah, okay. Are there any Raspberry Pi DIYs? There's a lot of stuff out there. For modular, not so much, isn't it? Is it too big? There's plenty of Arduino, however you pronounce that. Plenty of that. Yeah. In fact, these have all got Arduinos on the back. These have. That's where that all comes from. But there also seems to be a lot of electronics as well, so it can't just all be run by that. Ah, those LEDs are so pleasing. Da, da. Is there a simple or hard way to get into modular synthesis? Yeah, there's simple ways. There's hard ways. Most of the hard ways are quite simple if you've got enough money, and most of the simple ways are quite hard because it's quite hard to get into. You can just throw a load of cash at it. I don't know that that'll hold your interest. It's like that. It's like that line from Pretty Woman. Of course it is. Yes, that line from Pretty Woman about opera, where you can learn to appreciate it over time and with effort, but it'll never occupy your soul like it will if you stumble and fall in love with it. You've kind of got to break yourself into it. It's got to be, you've got to flummox yourself. You've got to go, I don't understand and I must make this right. Because I think you can come into it in a couple of different ways. You can come into it, because you will come into it not knowing what the heck is going on. What is that about? How there's not even a sound coming out is going to be your first experience with Modular. And you, at that point, are going to know whether to pack it in and go and buy an Electron box and be done with it, or you're going to pursue it. That's the point. I think that's the flip-flop. So if you decide, no, damn it, I'm going to get to the bottom of this, then it has you. It's broken you down, and you start getting away, and you get angry, you get frustrated, you throw a bit more money at it, then suddenly things will start to emerge, and you'll go, yeah, okay, yes, I can see that now. And that is the journey. That's the beginning of your journey, and that can be simple, it can be hard. It depends on you, really. It depends on your preconception. It depends on all the baggage that you bring with you. Are you coming from such an anti position of, nah, Modular, but I have to try it out because everyone says it's so awesome? You're going to make that hard for yourself. Or if you're coming with an open mind and going, oh, you're just going to see what happens. It might be ridiculous. Then I think you've got a better chance of finding your way. I don't know if that answers the question. Whew. What made me choose that sequencer over the many out there? Well, number one, it was sent to me for free. Yay! I got a free thing. So yeah, that's good. Sequencers are a thing. They're definitely a thing that I've looked at a lot and I've struggled with. I have, in my lineup of sequencers, I've got a Moog 32, Mother 30, it's down here. I've got a Mother 32 down here. Oh look. See, now there's my other lattice. I knew it was here somewhere. There's a fella. Look, got this in my spare bit of case. It's got a few spiders on it. See, that's really sad. It shouldn't have spiders on it. Anyway, so the first sequencer, hardware sequencer I had. Actually, the first hardware sequencer I had was a Casio back in 1980 something like that, which could record one track of stuff. It only had play and record buttons on the top. That's all it had, and you played MIDI into it, and it played it back. Anyway. For Modular, the first sequencer I had was the Mother 32. That's a pain in the arse. I played with it, I worked at it, and I thought, this is really difficult and annoying. And every time I sat down with it, I couldn't remember how to make it work again. And that's not really, spiders, that's not really what you want. So I struggled with that, but persevered and then struggled again. So one of the things I wanted was a better sequencer, and I really liked the Varigate 8. Everyone talked about it, but it had all these channels of drum stuff that I wasn't into at the time, and only had 2 CV outputs with all those channels, so I wouldn't be using most of it. So I found that annoying, and so didn't get that. So what I went for was the Beatstep Pro. Of course, the Beatstep Pro, because that's what everybody uses, right? Beatstep Pro, great thing, lots of lights. I hated it from day one. Turned it on. It made everything sound rubbish. Could not get it to work. Could not get pitch out. Pitch was, I plugged it into the STO. Pitch was all over the place. I could not comprehend it. Lots of it all sounded the same. It was all playing the same note, or it was playing the wrong note, or it was just the relationship between that and the modules. It just seemed completely out of whack. It got better once I'd got into the software control panel for it and sorted a few things out, changed the range it was using. That seemed to bring it a little bit more under control, but I still did not like it. Kept trying to like it, and would do a couple, and then no, I didn't like it. I don't like the way the patch cables come out the back of it. It's so inconvenient and annoying. It's too bright. Everything about it is just going, this is a computery thing. It's a piece of USB hardware. This is not really modular. And I ended up finding the Beatstep Pro just personally offensive. So my plans of using that as an awesome thing, you know, if I'm not connecting with a piece of gear, honestly, you know, I have to have an emotional attachment to a piece of gear, I think, because it's an instrument. If I'm not like the workflow, if I'm not enjoying the way I have to use it, then that's of no use to me. So that's sitting over there in a box. Haven't touched it for months and months and months. So then from there, I went to the Varigate 4 Plus, which seemed to be the perfect release from Moleko. So it wasn't the 8, it didn't use up a whole load of space, could bring it down to something sensible, and it had 4 channels, 2 of which were CV, or you use CV and gate, and that worked. 2 channels of sequencing. Yes, I could understand that. Now, what I couldn't understand is how you decide on a note. You're fiddling, you got lines here, you got things here. Let me try to explain why it drove me crazy. I mean, it's great. I love the slidey things with the LEDs. I love the way it moves about. But it's its multi-functionality that just gets right up my nose. Because I can slide these about and I can select notes. I mean, you can hear them. Put it through a quantizer in particular to make it a little bit simpler. And you can roughly select a note. Great. Now I want to change the gate length or something, or I want to try or change the gate on a different channel. Select another channel. I'm having to move the very same sliders in order to affect another part of the sequencer. And so as soon as I change those sliders, it no longer represents the pitch. So I can no longer see the pitch in the sequencer. Do you see what I mean? Because it now represents something else. And then you change to another track to do another sequence, and now that responds to that. And you can't go back to your original channel with the original pitches and get that back. You can't put it back to where it was. I'm not explaining this right, because you can hear the pitches. Obviously you can hear the pitches. Nothing has changed in that regard. But I like to be able to see, I like to be able to look at it and see how, as it's stepping through, where the notes are going up and down. And that's what I love about the Lattice, because it just has a knob. I set that knob and I know that that's going to be a lower note than that one, which is a higher note. I mean, I can hear it, obviously, but I can now see it as well, and see it coming, and know what's going to happen next. And I can choose things to move because I want the sound to go down a bit there in the middle. Do you see what I mean? So it was the complexity and the versatility of the Varigate 4 Plus that just pissed me off. Then I got a Hermod. Now a Hermod was given to me by Polysquid. Polyend. No, not Polyend. Squarp. There we go. Squarp Instruments. I don't, you know, I'm nearly 50. I can't remember anything these days. And that is interesting, but for a whole load of other reasons. It's a very different sort of sequencer. Has a lot of interesting stuff in it, which again I really would love to do a deep video on, because it deserves it. It's fascinating. I haven't decided yet whether it's really my bag or not, but it brings in a lot of possibilities which I don't think anything else does. So it has an immense potential in there for creating great stuff, and I know that Annie has one and really likes it, so that makes me want to like it. I want to look at that, but I haven't really. I used that when I did my track for the Modulism CD. I used it quite a lot because it also acts as a great CV to MIDI converter in both directions for your computer. So it has that kind of versatility as well built in. But it's also quite big, which is why it's under the desk at the moment. I don't have room for it. So yeah, which brings me back to the Lattice, because it's just so bleeding simple. This and a quantizer, that's all you need, and you can produce a bunch of tunes. I mean, how refreshing, how releasing that you don't have to do anything more complex than that. See what I mean? Cool, good question. Let's go down a bit. PD, this clicky thing, it's the cells for this. I was talking about that a minute ago. If you missed that, ha! You'd have to go back and watch it again. Just take the whole thing. Yeah, maybe. Atari ST, pa! Commodore 64, me. And I ran a gig on a Commodore 64 back in 1988, same year you had your Atari ST. Oh yes, Commodore 64. It took 3 minutes to load each song off floppy disk, big floppies, and I had to talk in between each song. It was me on guitar, the Commodore 64 playing everything else, and a mate on drums trying to play along with no click track. It was a flipping disaster, but I did it. I pulled off an hour gig with that, with lots of talking, but I mean, it was a very friendly crowd, as in just friends and family. But I thought I was doing extraordinary things, which I probably was. It's fair to say. Da, 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 skip on down. What? What? Auto calibrate the pitch of what? What? Oh, if you're talking about my AC to DC coupling thing, I haven't looked into that since I did the video on AC coupling and DC coupling. I haven't looked at it at all. Yeah, Muff Wiggler, just to put this out here, Muff Wiggler is an awesome resource of stuff. There's a lot of great stuff on there. It's also got a crappy name and harbours a lot of crappy comment, I think. That's just my view. Put that out there. But it still remains a great resource. I just wish there was a better place for that information. Can't have everything. God, I mean, you guys are really having intense discussions out there, which is nice. I mean, you don't really need me. I could probably just make some more music. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do that in a minute and just let you chat, because you're obviously having a really nice time, which is great. And I'm, you know, I love being here to facilitate that. Maybe I need to say something more controversial. Yeah, semi-modular is good. O-coast. Right. The O-coast, the no-coast, the zero-coast, the O-coast. Does anybody want this? Because I can't seem to use it. I can't seem to find a use for it. Every time I sit down with it, I make a similar sort of sound, and it's not the sort of sound that I'm really enjoying right now. So I think I'm going to have to let this go, because I can't afford to keep stuff around that I'm not using. It's part of my ethos these days, and I need, you know, I need some money back. Running out of money with things. So I think my O-coast is going to go on to Reverb for sale. So if anybody wants it for, you know, a sensible price, sensible second-hand price, then give me a shout. And if it just saves us all a load of trouble and you just send me a bunch of cash, then let's do that. You know. So lovely though it is, it's a lovely thing that I would like to have. If I was more into desktop synths, then this would definitely be a great thing. But because of my modularness, this scene is just not getting used. Things need to be in the rack to get used, and this is not in the rack. I mean, I did that great thing adapter for it here, which I thought would make me use it more. I still don't really use it because I don't really understand it. I think I know a lot of people do. I've just, you know, I've only got so much room in my head, and I'd like to know it more and get better with it, but I don't. I have to make decisions on the gear that I keep around and leave around, and it has to be based on usage. It has to be based on how it makes me feel, and this makes me feel stupid. So yeah, if anyone would like it, send me a proper message, because I'll miss your comment here. That's no good. Just, you know, get in touch through normal channels, and we will sort that out. Yeah. You know, £800, maybe £1,000, because it's mine, therefore it's special. No, sensible price, whatever that means. The Mother 32, I'm less likely to get rid of, because every time I plug that in, I really like it. That's the thing. It makes a similar sort of sound. I can't make anything particularly crazy with it, but the sound that I do make with it, I always really like. You go, oh yeah, that's really, yeah. And the filter is so musical. Yeah, it's great. It's just not in my rack, so I don't use it as much as I'd like. Anyway. Da, 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 da. Key step, yeah. Key step seems okay. Yeah, I mean the key step is essentially a overinflated arpeggiator, isn't it? It just runs stuff, and that's all right. But I use the base station arpeggiator on the base station 2, and I run that through the Hermod sometimes just to get some stuff going, and that's beautifully easy, beautifully simple, even though it's quite a complicated way of connecting things up. So having a little keyboard there with an arpeggiator or sequencer style thing built in is an easy way to get stuff going, because often with modular you just want to get stuff going. And that way, I mean, the Variegate 4 Plus works all right for that, because I don't care what notes it's selecting. I just want to get some stuff going. And I mean, the other thing that the Variegate is great at is being the center of the clock, because it can kick out a few notes, kicks out a clock which you can use, kicks out gates. So it has a lot of different stuff going on, which can become very useful. So if I didn't have other things, that would be a more useful module. So yeah, I still like the Variegate, even though I don't really use it for sequencing. It has the ability to do other things which are still useful. A lot of love for a key step out there. Okay. Yeah, the lattice is interesting, I promise you, I suppose. And I'll do it, like I say, I want to do a proper video on it soon. Soonish. Give me a couple of weeks. Holland Mundy, Vincent. No, the name's Robin. Robin Vincent. I know I have two first names as my full name, but I never really understood Vincent as a first name until people pointed it out to me, or until people get it wrong. So it's Robin. I'm Robin. Hello. How'd you do? Vincent is my family name. Anyway, have I tried any complex oscillators? No, I haven't. Well, I've got a graphic VCO. Is that complex? No, not really. No, I haven't. I mean, the reason being is that first of all, they're big. Secondly, they're expensive. Thirdly, they're complicated. So none of those things really inspire me. I mean, I like the idea of the DPO. I like the idea of the Instruo one, because they do beautiful modules. But the question in my head is then what I'm actually getting for that. Is it a module that just makes strange waveforms? And is that something that I want? Do I want a strange waveform, or do I actually want something lovely? I might actually be more into the kind of the lovely sound rather than the strange sound. If that makes sense. I like a good bass line. I like a good arpeggiator. I like a good bit of melody. So maybe complex oscillators are not my thing, but I haven't ever really played with one, so I don't know. It's like the graphic VCO, which is a great wavetaper module, and it has all these sorts of sounds in, but I'm finding that I don't really use them very much. I like normal regular oscillators that make square waves and sawtooth waves and sine waves. That's kind of my bag, man. Yeah, the Instruo. Get that wrong. Instruo. I'll talk to the guy one of these days and find out exactly how I'm supposed to say it. Instruo. Yes, it does look really fascinating, as all their stuff does. What do you mean, nearly 50? Question mark. What? What are you saying? There's no way I'd have thought I was older than you. Why? What, because I look so haggard? You watch it. I'm a black belt in Kung Fu, don't you know? You be careful. Come round here. Sort you out. Good night, Inky. Yes, no worries. Nice of you to drop by. Da, 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 da. What's Popes? I don't know what that is. Well, if you did some initial investigation into DC coupling, then check out my videos. I did 2 massive investigations on DC coupling and AC coupling. Check them out, they're in the channel. It's the best information you will find anywhere. It took me months of research, well, a lot of research to work those ones out, including a lot of muff wiggler diving. That doesn't sound right. you know, a lot of information and research, and actually then doing it, because it has to come down to the actual fact of doing it. Because it doesn't make sense until you actually do it, and you work out how difficult it is, or potentially okay it is, or how it's the simplest thing is just to throw a load of money at it. Buy the Expert Sleepers gear, buy all those modules, and it will work all right. Trying to get it to work through your other audio interfaces is a huge faff. It's trouble, man, and I'm not sure that it's worth it. That's, you know, that's kind of pushed me again out of the box. Otherwise I would be using my computer with this far more, but because it's a faff, I just want to go with the hardware. But I'll do both. I like doing both. I like talking about both. That's no problem. Question. Oh look, question. There's somebody addressing me directly. Is the Surface 2017 with 4 gig of RAM and i5 good enough for music production? I ask because I have the option to buy it super cheap. Sadly no option to get the 8 gigabyte. Simple answer to that is yes, of course. It'd be awesome. And no, of course. It will be terrible. Because the question is meaningless. And I don't mean that in a cruel way. I mean that it all depends. So if you want to do, for instance, you want to do 16-track audio recording. You want to record a live band into a Surface 2017 with 4 gigs of RAM, no problem. It'll do that. You want to record an orchestra into it. Live audio recording, streaming, you could install some kind of RME audio interface that has 64 inputs, 64 microphones going straight into your Surface. You could do that on the Surface Go, frankly. You could record masses of audio tracks into that system. Streaming, multi-channel, no problem. That's music production. Is that what you want to do? In which case, yeah, no problem. Now, if you want to run 50 instances of Omnisphere, then no, that's not going to work. It's really not going to work. Or you want to run complete with tons and tons of sample library and instruments and things like that loaded, then no, not so much. I mean, because the stuff, if you load up as instruments, well, I know you can do disk streaming as well when you load up instruments, but generally speaking, if you load up a 2 gig piano, it's going to reside in 2 gigabytes of RAM, and if you've only got 4, then your poor old OS is going to struggle with that. So having 8 gigs, I've found, gives you a bit more headroom, but it's not really the memory that I ever fill up when I'm doing performance testing, because I'm using audio tracks and audio effects. They don't really use RAM particularly. You only really use up memory with sample based instruments and how they load stuff. So I mean, I did a test really for Sound on Sound many years ago on 64-bit operating systems and what difference that made when switching from a 32-bit where you could use 4 gigs total and a 64-bit system where you could use a lot more. And I used Spectrasonics instruments, I think Trillion, things like that, load up huge 2 gig bass sounds, and to show I could only run 2 or 3 of those bass sounds in a 32-bit OS, whereas in a 64-bit OS I could load up much more because I had more RAM that could be addressed. So the main thing that's used up in memory is sample-based instruments. So if you're not using any, then you'll be fine. So for instance, we used to run things like Reason and Rebirth on crappy little computers 20 years ago, and they were fine, and you only had 1 gig of RAM. You know, RAM's only important if you're loading samples, really. I mean, obviously everything uses it, but that's your main thing. So if you want to load orchestral library, you want to load all the Spitfire stuff, or time and space, east-west, whatever it is, if you want to load all that stuff, then no, 4 gigs probably not going to do it for you. But if you're running virtual instruments, as in CPU-based virtual analog, that kind of thing, and effects, then no, it's going to be down to the CPU, and the CPU's an i7, it will do okay within that context. So that's a way to think of it. Effects and that was strange. Effects and virtual analog stuff, that is CPU based. Sample based instruments, that's on memory based. There are your main distinctions. Yeah. So does that answer your question? I mean, the simple answer is yeah, it should be all right. But it depends on what you're doing. What are you doing? Then that dictates, doesn't it? Don't you think? Okay. Don't go away. Why? Where am I going? Andrew, if you want the no coast, get in touch. As I say, do it for real. Don't tease me in the comments. You know, we could have a bidding war. That'd be awesome. I'll sign the back for it if you like. I'll break it if you like. You'd have a, you know, an official no coast broken by Molten Modular. Okay. Yeah, we'll be drawing this to a close soon, I promise. I haven't done half the things I thought I might do. Do I have any music online? Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I have to go back and listen to the podcast, to this live stream rather, all over again. But search for Molten Meditation. That's what I'm going to look for. I want to, what? Big picture project, and read The Present to see the truth about life, which can change the world. It is truth. You can check. Nothing is more important than reading it. Thanks, Charles. I feel enlightened by that. If somebody wants to talk theology, I can happily do that. I'm not kidding. No, I didn't get rid of the Mother 32. I showed it a moment ago. It's down here. And I'm not getting rid of it because I like it. As I said before, so I don't know why I'm repeating myself. That's all right. Don't worry about the name, man. I just wanted to... I don't know. That just was funny to me. Gotta go. See you, level 6. Take it easy out there. Yeah, it's always nice. Da, ba, ba. Adrian, listen to your wife. She's magical, I think you'll find. And you don't deserve her. No, Windows 10 is not taking 80% of your 4 gigs of RAM. No, that's nonsense. No. No. Windows 10 will change. It will use as much or as little as you like. You can run Windows 10 on a phone, so it can't be taken up all of your 4 gigabytes. So, no, that's nonsense. Don't get distracted into that kind of bits and pieces. Although maybe you're right. I don't know. What do I know? I don't know anything. No, I don't believe that kind of stuff. Windows will use whatever it likes. That's the great thing about Windows 10. It's very, very adaptable. It will, it'll expand itself to use as much as the system as you let it, ultimately. But once you start using other stuff, it'll put itself in the background. It's really quite dynamic in that regard. At least that's been my experience. So I've got no worries about running Windows 10 on a 4 gig system, on a 2 gig system. It'll be alright. Yeah. 4 gigs better though. 8 gigs. Personally, I think gives you a bit of headroom, so you don't really have to worry about it. I mean, I would worry about it if it was a desktop machine. I have 32, I think, on my desktop machine. I don't know, I never hit the limit of that anyway. No, Reason is one of the most efficient programs out there. It was 32-bit. For years past, everyone else had dropped 32-bit versions because they didn't. I mean, I spoke about how I wrote an article for Sound on Sound about 64-bit Windows, and I spoke to Propellerhead, and they said, "No, we're not interested in producing a 64-bit version because our software doesn't go anywhere near, 2 gigabytes of RAM. Doesn't use any RAM. Even though it's loading samples, it's only loading traditional samples, single samples, as opposed to multi-level, multi-velocity samples. Reason is all about the single sample. So it doesn't use any RAM at all. So they, for years, had no interest in producing a 64-bit version because there was no point. There was no need for it. So, Reason 10, you're fine. I mean, if obviously with VST support, it can now run much larger instruments, and that's a whole different thing. But by itself, Reason 10 is highly efficient. So no, don't be afraid of that. Have I tried Figure, the master clone of VCV Rack? No, I haven't tried VCV Rack for ages. I tried the initial 0.4, I think it was, ages and ages ago. I had to play with it, thought, oh, that's really nice. But it doesn't really, just doesn't hold my attention. Not like hardware does. You know? It just becomes too hard to deal with on the screen. I mean, other people love it, absolutely. I can see that, I understand that, and I appreciate that. It's just not a place I want to spend any time myself, particularly. I've got more than enough to learn in the handful of modules that I have. I don't need to be looking into a software environment which has a gazillion modules. That starts to fold in on itself and become counterproductive, I find. But that's just me, man. That's just me, you know? The only problem with Windows 10 is, Mark Dotty says, that you can't turn off updates. So there's a risk of music off by updates. There is, in all my years of running Windows stuff, I've so rarely come across a Windows update that really breaks anything. I mean, it's something which, yeah, when I was producing audio PCs for Carolon and stuff, and also up to now, previous to Windows 10, we've always turned auto updates off. However, on my own machine, I've always left it on, and I've never run an update, come back to it, and then some piece of audio software is no longer working. There was a problem with FireWire, I think, at one time. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago. There was a problem with FireWire. There was a driver that they introduced which really messed something about. But honestly, I've not seen any problems with anything. I mean, there's more likely to be a problem with some other part of the system, like it knocks out your Wi-Fi, or something else corrupts. But not with anything specific to audio interfaces, or nothing which increases latency, and nothing which reduces the plug-in counts. Nothing. Whereas on the Apple, as I mentioned earlier, every single time there's an update, it screws up everything. It messes everything about. And, Pro Tools goes, oh, well, we're not compatible with the new update. Don't download the update. So, although there is the potential, of course, as updates come down, to mess up your system, I have, in my experience of Windows 10, I used Windows 10 from the day it was released, is that every time an update, certainly a major update, comes in, things get better, performance gets better, I can do more stuff, things are simpler. So my experience of Windows 10 has been nothing but awesome, absolutely awesome. But then, I liked Windows 8 because it had a lot of good stuff in there. I mean, because I'm the kind of person who tries to make the best out of what I have. Although, I mean, as I've expressed many opinions on things that I don't like, and I don't like the Beatstep Pro, so I'm not going to waste my time on it. I've never had that problem with an OS. Windows 8 was weird, certainly, but I enjoyed it in its weirdness. And when 8.1 came along, it was a lot better, and we could move away from the weirdness a bit. And then 10 was fantastic because they brought Windows 7 back, which was awesome, but improved all of the crap in Windows 7, because there was a lot of crap in Windows 7, and brought in kept some of the weirdness, which I also liked. So Windows 10 has been awesome for me. So yeah, no problems at all running Windows 10. I don't have any fear of the updates, and talking to people at Microsoft about it, like Pete Brown, for instance, who you may have seen knocking around, one thing that he said that really stuck with me is that one of the reasons Microsoft has no interest in music making is because all of us clever dicks installing Windows, turning off auto updates and turning off feedback, means they've never heard from any of us. So when their system sends error reports back, excuse me, when they send error report, Windows sends error reports back, we prevent all that stuff because we're trying to be clever with the OS. And so Microsoft don't have a history of people making music on their systems, and they have no data on it because we've turned all that data off. So actually, as musicians, if we want Windows 10 to be better, we need to leave on updates, and we need to leave on error reporting and things like that, because that way they actually get some data on what we're doing and what's going wrong if something's going wrong. Do you see what I mean? So yes, I understand the fear of updates. However, in my experience, I've never seen it cause a problem. As opposed to Apple, I see it cause a problem every time. Every time. But not on Windows. So there you go. But you know, if that's a fear that you have, then I don't know what you do about that. You have to get the Pro version and turn off auto updates. But you'll be forced to update eventually. But personally, the update is a good thing, because ultimately Microsoft are trying to make everything better. Because I do have a slightly skewed positive bias towards Microsoft, because they've been nice to me and I've met some lovely people there, and I refuse to believe that they're just trying to mess with us. I think they're trying to make everything better. They don't always do it right, but as far as my music making goes, yeah, no problem. It's much more likely I'm going to mess up my own system with some crap that I've tried to do than it is that Windows will ever muck it up. Now I'm going to glance back at the comments now, when no doubt there's a list of 50 people saying, oh yeah, they messed up my machine, flipping Microsoft, what a load of tossers. Yeah, that's what I'm expecting to see. There's a trick, apparently. Set your Wi-Fi connection. Yeah, they're sort of our tricks, but you still have to update, you still have to install the updates. It's not going to let you get away with it. You can kind of fudge it a bit. Yeah, you can do that, but essentially it will come to a point where it says, no, you've got to install this now, otherwise we're going to make your machine blow up. That's the truth. Yeah. The guy here with, you know, he's mentioned about truth. Charles, is it? Talked about truth. Yeah, that's the truth. Your machine will blow up. It will be like Electric Dreams, the film, where at the end Edgar blows up. Because that's how computers should crash. They should crash by exploding glass into your face. I think that would make our whole computing experience different, and we'd be less moany about it. Not calling a gig. No, it's not calling a gig. So don't turn your Wi-Fi on. Why would you have your Wi-Fi on at a gig? Yeah? Why would you do that? You know, before you go to a gig, turn your laptop on. Check for updates if you like. Install some updates. Don't check for updates. Don't turn the internet on. Why would you have the internet on at a gig? Why would you need to do that? Hey? Hey? Are your own worst enemy? Maybe? Why would you do that? I mean, don't put yourself in a position where you're going to harm yourself. Now, I absolutely have had the situation where I need to get something quick off my computer and I've turned it on, it says, oh, we're just going to do an update. That can be infuriating. If that happens at a gig, I can see that can be nasty. But that's why you would check it beforehand and then not turn your Wi-Fi on. Yeah? I don't know. There's ways around. We can work with these things, I think. Flight mode. Yeah, it's a really useful button. I'm looking at two places for comments now. I've really lost myself, but it's my glasses. You know, I think the phone thing really worked well for me, kinda, but also this is, I can see this a bit better over here. So somebody says, I'm missing out, and we're running out of time. God, that's been 2 hours. I've got to really wind it up. Right, I'll quickly scan through last minute comments, because you know I like to reply to people. I feel response and communication is important. I think it's really what life is all about. And if I don't, then I feel that I'm underserving. There's a trick. I did that one. Can't be turned off. Not called a gig. Yeah, just slammed that one. Oh, some guy says that both Windows and macOS are fine. Great. Awesome. Let's stop talking about it then. Your Beatstep Pro is not working on Windows 10. You're not supposed to be using it on a computer. You're supposed to be using it on your hardware, you idiot. Okay. Answer to almost everything. To keep making some tunes. Yes, it's downsizing. How do you think about that? Yeah. Yeah, you can make... Absolutely, you can make an album with a tin can and a microphone. If that's what you want to do. Yeah. We do overcomplicate things. I mean, I've always found it interesting on you know, Facebook groups, synthesizer Facebook groups, when people post videos of their stuff. They are surrounded by gear. I mean, I have a little bit of that going on. I you know, it happens. But people have got racks and racks of synths, and they make some kind of really basic sort of tune that they've done. And I just wonder whether the whole thing's too complicated. They're not touching any of the other stuff. Why is it all there? I don't know. I don't really want to have anything that I'm not using. Do you know what I mean? I hate having gear sitting around that I'm not using. It drives me nuts. I don't know. Maybe they're all making albums and their little videos they do on YouTube are just there for fun. I don't know. I do not know. Well, you know, with the greatest of respect, you cannot download an update if you're not connected to the internet. Oh, but I'm sure you're right. You're always right. You'll be right. Of course you are. Absolutely. So you're right. Don't ever use a computer at a gig. Don't use a Mac because the OS doesn't work with anything. Don't use a PC because it might accidentally update halfway through your gig and smash everything about. So your best solution is to buy a guitar and do that. But not a guitar because you might break a string. Okay, not a guitar. Go as a DJ. Records. You might scratch your records. Damn it. Okay, not a DJ then. Percussionist. Take a tongue drum with you and play that. That can be good, or that can be difficult to mic up. Oh, you might hurt your finger. No, don't do that. Sing. There's your answer. A cappella. Sing. Unless you get a sore throat. No, that's no good. Mime. Be a mime artist. That's probably the answer. Do that for performance. Okay. What? Only what? High-res resolutions? What? Yeah, I am a cheap date. Thank you. I've still got some left because I'm talking too much. I would really value some crisps, though, I have to say. Brochures? What did I say? It's about creativity, not systems, man. Yeah, I'm with you with that. Okay, so I'm going to wind this up. Dual boots Linux. Oh, just do me a favour. Backing tapes. Yes, that's what you want. Tape. Backing tapes. Reel-to-reel tape, like Pulp Fiction, like. Yeah, that's the answer. Oh, no, but the tapes stretch, man. Oh, it doesn't. It comes off the spool. You know, it gets jammed in the machine. Oh, you know, life is a nightmare. How on earth do we ever survive any of it? Oh, it's just... Whew. You've got to have 3 backups. In fact, you know, you should go to a gig with your computer and a backup guitar, a backup flute, and then backup backing tapes with karaoke. Yeah, sometimes I'm sarcastic. I'm sorry. Right, okay, I'm going to finish it up now. Oh, damn it, someone's asked me another question. See, I'm a sucker for a question. It's flipping past 11 o'clock. I don't even know who won it Strictly. Oh, prosers. Okay, got you. Yeah. Well, do I look like that? No, I'm too much of an idiot, I think. Sorry, somebody asked me a question. Oh, it's word on the street, is it? How about the battery degradation in the Surface? Have I seen any signs of that? No, I don't really run it on batteries. But that's a video I'm going to do. Right, let's round this up with a quick roundup of what's coming soon. So, Batteries Surface. I don't run it on batteries, I run it plugged in. Why? Because it works plugged in far better than it does on batteries. However, particularly with a Surface Go, people have been asking, how does it run on batteries? Because you want to take the little Surface Go in your pocket, on the bus, make some music with it. So it's a valid question and a valid test. So I will be doing that. I will be seeing how well the Surface Go runs on batteries and also with the onboard sound. Purely that. Can it be a little music making machine by itself? Don't know. Let's find out. Can the Surface Pro 6 do the same? Don't know. Let's find out. I have done battery tests on previous services where I run a project, leave a project running and a timer running, put it on battery and see what happens. So I will do that again, no doubt. I mean, it lasts for a couple of hours because you've got all the power stuff turned off. Because if you don't, then nothing works. So you have to run the whole thing on fire, you know, full on, that kind of thing. So I'll be doing that. Those are videos I'm going to be doing soon. I'm going to be doing videos on the lattice, the tenderfoot lattice here. I'm going to be doing some more jamming on the modular. I've got that Molten module coming in about a week. I want to do a video on that. Going to do a video on the AA1 thing here, which is an effects loop for guitar effects. I want to be doing that. I've got at least 2 DIY modules coming along very soon. The low pass gate and the sample slicer, both of them I'm very, very interested in building and doing. I've got the Zhu weird controller. If you haven't seen that, I wanted to show that. This thing here that they've sent me, this thing with the nipples and the things, it's very tactile and spongy. These bits all come off here. Like so, you see? Very interesting controller for doing lots of weird stuff. I found it always fascinating. They've lent me one, but I have to send it back very soon. So I need to get on and do a review of that as soon as I possibly can. Otherwise I'll just miss the opportunity and that'd be a real shame. So I've got that coming up. I've got a synth that Studio Electronics are going to let me have to do a review of. So that's really cool too. Lots of great stuff coming, man. Lots of great stuff. And there's software as well. Touchable Pro, I want to do a review of that. I want to do a review of Waveform. I want to do a review of Bitwig 2.4. Loads of stuff. And that's all coming along. So join me. Subscribe and like and share and stay with it. There's loads of stuff to come if ever I can find the time to do it. I try to release a couple of videos a week if I can. That's always my target, to do at least one meaty thing a week and some extra things around it. I will endeavour to do that, although this week I've got to finish a review for Sound on Sound magazine, which is obviously important because that's like paid work and stuff. So I will be doing that and doing the Zhu. I wish you know, I wish people would call products with, you know, names for stupid people to pronounce. Everyone likes to put posh names in, which drive me nuts. So I don't know what I'm going to call it. I'll have to try and find another YouTube video when somebody talks about it so I can find out what it's supposed to be. Babbling now. Sorry, that's too much beer. So I'm going to go and play with this for a bit, for just a couple of minutes before I turn it all off. Otherwise it'll be a ridiculously long video. And thank you so much for coming along. It's been great having you on board. The conversation seems to be excellent in there. I haven't spotted all of it. If I haven't answered your question, I'm sorry. By all means, throw it in later or email me. You know, I'm available on all sorts of different platforms. You know, even on Facebook. For some reason, I've started allowing friends. I'm connecting with people who I don't know because I thought, oh, what the hey, Facebook is so boring these days. I might as well be friends with whoever wants to be friends. So if you're into that, hop on a Facebook, befriend me. I'll give that a go. Unless you just put crap into my feed, then I'm quite happy to be friends on there. If you're happy for me to post funny things about life, the universe, and everything that could vary between music, modular, my kids, martial arts, religion, the world generally, or anything that's funny. I mean, Facebook for me is only a place where things have to be funny. If it's not funny, I'm not that interested, honestly. Or Instagram's a good place to join up as well. Find me on Instagram, because I have a mixture of kind of work-related stuff and personal stuff on there, if that's interesting to you. Cool, but in the meantime, go and make some tunes. And I'm going to make some tunes over here. I'm not going to look... Oh no, I got dragged into the comments again. Oh, damn it. You're welcome. Sound doing alright, as far as I know. I don't think I have a problem with unsold magazines. I don't know, but what do I know? All I know is that they're nice and they ask me to write stuff, so I do, which is great. It's lovely seeing stuff in print. I mean, I'm an investor in Electronic Sound magazine, which is also excellent. So I don't think print's actually going anywhere. I think it's around to stay. People like it the same as we like hardware. We like to have a magazine. So yeah, don't dismiss them out of hand. I think that's the wrong vibe, man. I think we want things in our hands, and that's a good thing. Great, good. I thought you'd gone anyway, Inky, with your jelly donuts. I'm going to cheers. I'm going to play. I'll turn this up. I think I might turn this off. Yeah, I can't be bothered. Too long! Far too long. Sorry about that, everybody. I need to go to bed now. See you in the morning. Remember, go and make some tunes. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Good night.